Hi everyone, back with another video for this week, back with another distinct lack of a plan. But if you remember rightly, last week I had mentioned picking up the Kindred and Zone Troopers, and I'm pleased to report that I've now managed to watch both, and the Kindred in a way was sort of everything I wanted it to be since I saw the big gloopy wild cover art many years ago. It is full of some enjoyable practical effects. It has a mad scientist with some mad science. It has a bonkers plot, gets people in a location and then keeps them there, and it's just a lot of fun, and the finale goes all out. So yeah, I highly recommend the Kindred, actually, if you are looking for that kind of 80s gloopiness, fun, and you can get it without it costing half the price of your mortgage. Zone Troopers, on the other hand, I was a bit disappointed by. It was a bit more sort of, I don't think low key's the word, but you know, couldn't really do much to hide the low budget. And I mean, it's executive produced by Charles Band, so I should have known there. It just, I don't know, the concept wasn't really used as well as I thought it would be. And again, it's one that I'd fondly seen the VHS cover art for many years ago. But I am looking forward to finding the time at some point to listen to audio commentary on here from Dave Wayne and Matej Brodrevich, as I mentioned before, and there's some other extra features on there that I'll look forward to. So that, you know, cost me, I don't know how much, but it would be about the same as, you know, 3 or 4 big coffees from Starbucks, and it'll last me much longer. What I also wanted to mention this week, though, is unlike other podcasts, we tend not to mind mentioning occasionally podcasts that we enjoy. Actually, I take that back. Some other podcasts do mention podcasts I enjoy. It's not a particular thing to us, but a podcast that I have been listening to that I know won't need any help or promotion is The Secret History of Hollywood, and I highly recommend that to people that know me and my tastes and my journey through cinema. It's basically kind of long form storytelling and can be a little bit over the top and kind of flowery with the prose at times, but is just really good. And I'm going to say 7 or 8 episodes in now. From the start, it's a story basically of Val Lewton, and that has reminded me that I still have so many other Val Lewton movies to see. He was, you know, a celebrated producer from back in the day, and I've only seen Cat People and The Body Snatcher, both of which I really liked. So I have so many others to check out in his filmography. There's at least a good, I think, 6 or 7 there. But also it reminded me, the podcast goes off at tangents, and it covers some different characters from the time, mainly how they move in and out of the life of Val Lewton, and then you get a sort of offshoot going on to their life. And one main tangent was regarding George Sanders, sorry I went blank there, and his brother, and the fate that befell them, and a lot of what happened while George Sanders was married to Zsa Zsa Gabor. It's quite a moving little tale. Makes me feel quite differently and quite warm towards Zsa Zsa Gabor. And then later on, in the run-up to making The Body Snatcher and Isle of the Dead, there is, of course, the introduction of Boris Karloff into the story. Now, this reminds me that I've still to get to these as well. The Karloff at Columbia set and the Inner Sanctum Mysteries. Both of those seem like kind of cheaply produced, cash-in movies from the time that perhaps would have no grace or polish to them, perhaps. But hearing the Val Lewton story and how studios were running in those days, and the way they used stars and the way they did try to put projects together, it kind of makes me think that I'm going to enjoy those more than something that's just put together nowadays for the sake of cashing in on the latest fad or trying to make a vehicle around the latest star. On Netflix at the weekend, I watched The Man from Toronto, and that is basically a vehicle for Kevin Hart. Woody Harrelson's in there as well as the Man from Toronto. It's mistaken identity, hitman, action comedy. It's terrible. And it's terrible in a way that you can see all the boxes being ticked and know that some people will still love it. Some people will laugh and get enjoyment from it. But for those who don't love what's being mainly ticked in the boxes, there's nothing else there. There's no artistry to it. There's no real grace. There's no, if you don't like Kevin Hart, there's no wit, really. I mean, if you do like Kevin Hart, you're going to have some fun. But otherwise, there's nothing else there. Whereas package a film around Karloff or some of the stars of the 30s, 40s, 50s and make use of the resources that the studios had, put some writers on it, as was the case with Val Lewton, who would give him a title and who would try and think outside the box to create the best movie he could with the resources available to him and that title. And you can get little delights, whether it's to do with the atmosphere, whether it's to do with the simple polish of, everybody who was on hand as part of the team, knowing their job inside and out and knowing what they can contribute to the film. Whether it's just, a lucky break from all those things being there and having a hungry director who's looking forward to making an impact. I think more and more as we get into movies as things to consume, as we get into streaming services desperate to just keep content coming out there, I really think more and more it's good to go back, to delve back through the lesser films in cinematic history and look at the little gems that we are lucky enough to have kept for us. In some cases they have been cleaned up, they've been treated well, they've just been given a bit of spit and polish for modern viewers to now have them in their hands. And it's yet another reason why I'm glad that I fill the cinema room with such a variety of stuff that is going to take me a long time to get to. But I've now bumped the Inner Sanctum Mysteries and the Karloff at Columbia set to the highest level of my prioritised viewing schedule, all because of remembering the tale of Val Lewton and the way he made movies and the way the studios made movies and everything that comes together. I might be romanticising it a bit. I might be just looking at the films through rose-tinted glasses before I've watched the films. But I'm happy to do that because right now I'm enthusiastic and really gleeful about getting to those films at some point soon, as I was with The Kindred, as I was with Zone Troopers. Now, Zone Troopers didn't work for me, The Kindred did. If it's 50-50, I'm still happy because I've sat back and watched those two movies at last anyway. And I didn't hate Zone Troopers, and there's more to explore probably about the making of it and what was used to get everything together on screen. But there you go. This week on the podcast we are looking at Blaze, which is a film picked by Tyler. I believe it's based on the true story of a country singer, a blues singer, perhaps. Excuse my ignorance. I've not yet watched the film. And I picked Shock Treatment, which is the sort of sequel to Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'm not sure how that's going to go because I'm not a big fan of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And it would be interesting to find at least one or two other people who aren't big fans of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Because it seems some days like everyone else just loves that film. And I don't. And I've tried, I'm going to say about 4 or 5 times. I own it. I love the sort of first 20 to 30 minutes. And then after Sweet Transvestite or the Time Warp, whichever one comes last, I think it just goes downhill. It does for me. So Shock Treatment will make for some interesting conversation. I'm hoping to like it more than I rate Rocky Horror Picture Show. Have you seen it? What are your thoughts on it? And also, do you hate Rocky Horror Picture Show? If so, join me. Join me!